Alright, what is up, my entertainment junkies? And we are back with another reaction. Alright, at this point, it's no secret. I really don't like to get in politics, and I hate that guns are political, but yeah, I love guns. I'm from the South, what do you expect? But I was a couple minutes in this video, and it brought up some points that I wanted to bring up. 5 government guns the government doesn't want your hands on. I'll let the video play until the first point I want to make is, but I do have a few points on this.
Mistake, dear viewer. The government wants you defenseless, disarmed, and completely subject to its will. That's because defenseless citizens are much easier to abuse, and accordingly, the government doesn't want you to have any implement which might allow valiant men and women to oppose its monopoly on violence. Because without the promise of force, the law is merely a suggestion. But at the same time, not all guns are created equal. And there are some guns that the government very much wants to take away from you, or keep from you, before all others. Naturally, if the government doesn't want you to have them, that should only double your interest in obtaining them. In this video, we'll be looking at 5 categories of...
Alright, that brings up the first point. One, the whole thing about if you aren't allowed to have it, you're gonna want it more. Yeah, that's true. Tobacco, drugs, alcohol, if they were legal, the amounts would actually go down. But on the prospect of guns, this is both true and not true. Like, yeah, there are bad actors who don't want us to have guns, but there are people who don't have enough foresight to understand that if we get rid of the guns, make laws about guns, it's only going to affect people who care about the law and make them victims because they cared more about the law than protecting themselves from people who don't care about the law who are going to get their hands on it anyways. Look at what happened to the former Prime Minister of Japan, God rest his soul. A guy made a gun out of everyday parts that you can get from Home Depot and shot him. And their gun control is ridiculous. Also, we have to worry about more than people who don't care about the law. We have to worry about wild animals. We have bears, we have cougars, we have all these other animals that will try to kill us, and guns are our only protection. Now, on the point about the people in the government wanting us to be disarmed, it's not 100% true. Like I said, there are people without foresight who think that it's better because it saves more lives, and they legitimately think taking away guns will solve it, and they have no intention of being tyrannical or anything. But you have to think about why we have the Second Amendment. We just got out of a war. This is all the way back in 1776. Shit. When was the 1782, I think, is when the Second Amendment was ratified. We just got out of a war with Britain, a tyrannical government that were trying to impose laws on us without us having representation. And we were afraid of a tyrannical government coming back at us. I'm not talking about our own government, although it is possible, it's less likely. But let's say Russia decides to invade, and the military can't hold them off. If our people had guns, then it's militia groups. And dictionary definition of militia before, because people bring this up all the time. Fuck. Let's go with Oxford Dictionary. I have no clue if this will bring up, but I already know what it is. A military force that is raised from the civil populations to supplement a regular army in an emergency. That's pretty much what it is. But the thing they're weaving out is they're not paid by the military. They're not armed by the military. It's whatever they have lying around. If you read the Second Amendment, it is to keep a well-regulated militia. The right of the people to bear arms shall not be infringed. Comes from the fact that, one, regulated does not mean regulated by government like it does today. It means regulated by the means of they are armed, they have the means, capability, and what's the word? Capacity, no. Supplies to actually be able to be efficient. This was back in 1776. Words change. But that's what it meant back then. And militia is civilians. We are meant to supplement the military if we have to. How can we do that without guns? Who knows? We need to be trained in them. That's the big thing about Second Amendment. Yeah, you can own a gun without being trained. You shouldn't, because if you can't shoot it properly, you don't know where to aim, then you're freaking more of a liability. Train with your guns, PSA, all that. If you're legally allowed to have a gun, get it, and then train legally and properly with it. The other thing is illegal firearms. There are exceptions to constitutional rights. The whole thing about saying fire in a movie theater, that's all bullshit. You can say fire in a crowded movie theater or bomb in an airplane all you want. They can't arrest you for it. If you cause a panic and people get hurt, they can sue you for it because that's a civil matter and not a legal matter. The amendments only protect you from legal prosecution, not civil prosecution. But on another hand, the exception is they have to have a Congression of States, which is what they did with the Prohibition to make the 18th Amendment and the 21st Amendment. No, 18th. The amendment for prohibiting alcohol, and the amendment repealing prohibiting alcohol, and it is a lot harder to do that because most bills, they require a majority. That's it. 51%, you get it passed. Changing a legal right requires 2/3 of Congress to vote on it. I'm not sure if that's what the Gun Control Act and gun control bills laws did. I have to do more research on that, but yes, they can change if 2/3 of Congress agrees on it. What the laws are right now is you can't have you as a civilian, no military, no nothing, you cannot have a machine gun made after 1968 because of the Gun Control Act of 1968. You cannot have a short barrel rifle without a tax stamp from the ATF. You cannot have a short barrel shotgun without a tax stamp from the ATF. You cannot have a suppressor without a tax stamp from the ATF. You cannot have a destructive device or high explosives without a tax stamp from the ATF. And those take 6 months to a year to get, and a $200 fee. In the spirit of the Second Amendment, that is not allowed, but like I said, it might have been done through a Congression of States, it might have been done through bill. If it's done through bill, it's unconstitutional. If it's done through Congression of States, then it stays. They don't want you to have those. The only caveat, and I do agree with this, is dangerous. They call it dangerous or unusual. I don't agree with the unusual, because that involves like belt swords and cane swords. But the dangerous part I do agree with. And one I wish they would outlaw is black powder revolvers. Why those? Well, they are dangerous. And by dangerous, it does not mean dangerous to whoever the muzzle is pointed at. It means dangerous to other people. Mostly yourself. Because what black powder revolvers have a tendency of doing is chain firing. And they're in a cylinder of 5, 6, 4, whatever. They're going to hit that frame, blow up the gun, and harm the user and other people. So, the dangerous part, I do agree with.
So
Let's continue with this.
Doesn't want you to have. The biggest and gnarliest rifles you can buy are those chambered in 50 BMG.
Ah, that's cute.
This venerable machine gun cartridge.
No. There are bigger... What is the... You know what? Quick Google search. Biggest caliber legal without... Because I'm pretty sure it's one of the nitros. No, there's bigger ones. 10 gauge. There's the 4 bore that's legal. Really? They're calling it 50.7? Let's go Quora because... There's the... 50 BMG... Alright. The only one I know is the SKK Industries 950 caliber. Yeah, so as long as it's not a 1mm weapon, converting that into, because 1mm is considered a destructive device. Might have to add it under the ATF. What is the smallest destructive device under the ATF? This video is going to be fucking long. More than half an inch. So, 0.50 inch 2 millimeters. Because 50 BMG is 50 millimeters. Oh, I guess, fuck. 50, I thought it was smaller than that. So I stand corrected on this one. 50 BMG is the biggest. I'm going to tell you it's not the most powerful because... once you go into elephant hunting rounds, they are stronger than 50 BMG.
It's still going strong and is respected worldwide for its extreme range and power. Although it isn't that accurate in the grand scheme of things.
Nope. If you're talking about the Barrett 50 cal, no, it's not accurate. They make precision 50 caliber. Like my favorite, the one gun I want to own is the Accuracy International Hecate 2. It's a 50 BMG that has a sub 1 MOA group. I want that motherfucker. It is an accurate 50 BMG. It has to do more for the rifle than the ammo.
It is immensely destructive, and that is why the U.S. government has seen fit to employ it in special purpose anti-material rifles in all branches of the military. For turning cover into a coffin, damaging or disabling heavily armored targets, and other objectives that even proper battle rifles just can't handle, you should reach for a big 50. But whether they are single shot, bolt action, or semi-automatic, all of these rifles give the government fits. Ostensibly, they say, it's because they could potentially bring down an airliner, damage protected installations, or perform all sorts of other duties that would appeal to insurgents.
You get a steel core .556, it can bring down an airliner. That is no excuse. And steel core is the standard armor penetrating round. I think the only other armor penetrating round is depleted uranium rounds, but those are more for anti-tank and aircraft. But yeah, a steel core 556, steel core 223, little varmint round can take out an airliner. And what steel core is most bullets are made out of lead, especially hollow points, which is why they pedal out. Because lead is a very soft metal in comparison, in relativity. A steel core makes that harder, and it will punch through without expanding much, making the penetration deeper.
The real reason is that these rifles can easily be made effective against light armored vehicles, like, say, the ones used by federal agencies, and their raw anti-personnel capability should be obvious. I say that's kind of the point. These rifles are designed to degrade hard targets or conclusively disable soft targets. And even lacking modern anti-material munitions, which are very difficult to come by and expensive, hand loaders have been turning out phenomenally capable cartridges for these guns for decades, using a little bit of know-how and basic materials. And this isn't mere conjecture on my part. Several state governments, including California, Illinois, Connecticut, and New Jersey, along with Washington, D.C., already have specific 50 BMG rifle bans in place. The federal government has floated nationwide bans on these guns several times before.
They are semi-automatic, are less than a destructive device, which I still think there are bigger ones out there than just the 50 BMG. What was I saying? They do not have high explosives built into them. Under the ATF, they are not illegal without a tax stamp. Fuck off.
Before. Those intentions speak for themselves. These guns are a massive investment in terms of money and training if you want to...
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. Who are they worried about getting them? Because I think the cheapest BMG I've ever seen, I know what it is, I don't know the price. Serbu Arms 50 BMG price. That's cheaper than I thought, but that's $2,500. What criminal is going to spend $2,500? Now let's go with the semi-automatic, the all-famous Barrett 50 BMG MSRP. You're looking about... Why doesn't it say on the first page? Price list. Whoa, that's a lot of numbers. 12 grand. 8 grand. And that's not including the freaking accessories. And you can't just throw any $100 scope on these things. They have to have the shock resistance and the recoil to absorb all that. The shock resistance to absorb all that recoil from the 50 BMG. And shooting is automatic. Ooh. And as I was saying it earlier, don't know why Google is not my freaking main thing. Accuracy International Hecate 250. MSRP. Let's see if he'll give me the price. No, it will not. Go back. .762 is 6,400. That's about right. Oh yeah, they got sold out. That's 338. The Puma Magnum. Maybe we have to add in BMG. Here it is, the real one. Caliber options. Why isn't it giving me a freaking... Nope, not doing that. Well, you're gonna have to take my word on this one. Oh, there it is. Hecate 2 anti-material rifle. That is 50 BMG. 12.5 grand. The Hecate 2 is a bolt action, which means you fire once, you rack the bolt back, pull it forward, and you're ready to shoot again. So you're looking for more than I paid for my truck for one of these rifles. These criminals are not buying these freaking 50 BMGs, so who are you trying to keep them out of the hands of?
Maximize them. But as far as I'm concerned, it is your duty as a citizen to get your hands on them.
Sawn-off shotguns,
Among
short-barrel
non-gun
shotguns.
people, shotguns probably have the most benign reputation. Even the most fervent, foam-at-the-mouth, blue-haired anti-gunner has one kindly family member, at least, with an old shotgun hanging over the fireplace, or tucked away in a closet for duck hunting, skeet shooting, and other PC activities. They simply don't get as much bad press as most other guns, and even our drooling, doddering 46th president once famously quipped that you should just get a shotgun and fire 2 blasts to take care of any home defense problems. Who can argue with that endorsement? Despite being
Yeah.
the one type of firearm that seems more
Still have to worry about
unsafe
over-penetration.
and gun control legislation, you should not be lulled into a false sense of security. The federal government is very, very afraid of you owning compact shotguns, which might be easily concealed and swiftly brought into action at close range with decisive effect.
I'm going to tell you why this is bullshit. We had the Taurus Judge. It shoots 410 shotgun shells and is a handgun. So short barrel shotguns are bullshit. Why they're NFA items. But there is a... I don't want to say workaround, because then they're just kind of trying to say it's, oh, the short barrel shotgun or sawn-off shotgun loophole. No. A short barrel shotgun is legal to own a shotgun under 16 inches. No, rifles are 16 inches. A shotgun under 18 inches if it doesn't have a stock. If they bring out the Shockwave 12, you'll understand what I'm talking about.
No doubt be familiar with the categorization of shotguns with barrels under 18 inches as
18.
NFA controlled items. But what you might not know about these are the various federal laws concerning firearms with revolving cylinders and smooth bores that can discharge shotgun shells, or the various models of shotguns that were banned by name or reclassified as destructive devices, so they would be prohibited from normal sales. The infamous Street Sweeper, also known by many other names, is one such gun. We don't have to go into the nitty-gritty of all the shotguns banned by make, or the bans on various features in different states. For you to see the bigger picture, there's nothing you can
There's the Shockwave 12.
carry in 2 hands that is more devastating at close range than a shotgun, except maybe a flamethrower. Like the meme says,
I went over this in a previous video. Flamethrowers are not illegal. They are considered tools. And there's reasons behind that. But yeah, you can have a flamethrower shipped to your door.
magic must be very powerful, or or the government would not want them so badly. This is why I recommend everyone get a couple of very compact shotguns while they are legal, and just put them away, even if you don't like them that much. It could be a Mossberg 590 Shockwave.
That's it. Really? That's not a Shockwave 12? 590. That is... Is that 12 gauge? Whatever. Yeah. See, it doesn't have a stock. It's considered a non-NFA item and not a short barrel shotgun. You put a stock on it, it is a short barrel shotgun, and you'll go to jail.
A Remington TAC-14, or even the new super compact Kel-Tec KS7. The smaller it is, and the greater
How
capacity,
is that?
the better.
I mean, it is a bullpup. I'm gonna have to go into the difference between a bullpup and a rifle, normal, aren't I? Another
Turning
video.
cramped in close quarters into a meat grinder, the shotgun still reigns supreme, despite being a borderline archaic type of firearm these days. We've got 3 more categories of gun to look at, and the government doesn't want you to have a single one of them. But before we move on, do me a big favor and take 2 seconds to hit like and subscribe if you are enjoying this video. Those 2 clicks won't cost.
Also, if you're looking for a vehicle gun that is very effective and you don't care about your windshields and maybe your vehicle paneling in self-defense, get one of those Shockwaves or something, because you don't have to worry about shouldering it. It's easily maneuverable because of the shorter barrel. And intimidation factor is high, so most of the time you don't even have to shoot it.
It's your thing, but they make a huge difference for us here on All About Survival. Thanks so much. Now let's get back to it.
If you're talking about cheap, just remember, you get what you're paid for.
The federal government and most state governments have always nursed a raging hate complex for cheap, easily pocketable handguns. Although among shooter names like Lorson, Brico, Jennings, Jimenez, and Phoenix conjure up images of unmitigated garbage that is just as likely to break as it is to work, they can't deny the democratizing effect that this affordable and easily concealable firepower has. The so-called Saturday night...
Well, here's the thing. You're always going to want to have a round in the chamber for speed purposes in case you ever need to use it. Most time you only really need one shot.
Specials were the subject of their very own moral panic in the mid and late 1980s, since they were supposedly fueling crime in major cities. I look at it a different way. When you make guns accessible, truly accessible, to all citizens, regardless of their financial status, that has a chilling effect on whatever abusive plans governments might have for the people.
Yeah, that
If
dude's an
every
idiot.
handgun costs what a staccato does, there are going to be very few armed citizens out there, regardless of how much fervor they have for the Second Amendment in principle. And believe me, the government knows that too. Hence why they want to implement even more taxes on the gun-buying public. Anyway, when it comes to capability, you can't expect a dirt-cheap, shoddy pistol to hold up to an intense firing schedule, give you a long service life, or withstand any other sort of abusive activity. If I'm being honest, some of them might not hold up for more than a couple boxes.
Don't buy a
ammo.
Taurus.
But when it comes to fending off people who would take everything from you, unjustly imprison you, or hurt your family, these cheap guns are good enough.
Yep.
They can put a round or 2 behind an invader's ear and then be disposed of and replaced with basically no financial consequences. As grim as it is to consider, that might be
They say that, the most popular self-defense cartridge is probably 9mm. You can get a decent 9mm for $600, $700. And I'm not talking about 1 or 2 shots to throw it away. They can last like thousands of rounds. Hell, I don't think I changed a single part of mine. I'm probably up to 10,000 rounds now. And they're cheap, affordable, not really cheap. Mine cost me $500. It's doing wonders. As long as it feeds, it's good. And for the really, really cheap ones, if you're on a budget or can't afford to pay that much, Like I said, most time you only need one round to pretty much either scare them away or neutralize the target.
A capability that American citizens will need sooner rather than later.
I'm going to tell you this. 3D printed guns are not as scary as you think. It has been 100% legal for you to make your, this is American, for you to make your own guns at home. Now all of a sudden 3D printed because they're scary? No. They can't go through metal detectors because they have, the chamber and everything has to be made out of metal. You can't 3D print the metal. It doesn't have a serial number. So what? That only affects where it came from. Because there is no actual gun registry. Or there should there be for other reasons. But if my rifles, actually one of them you probably can't track at all because it's so fucking old. My guns, you can only track where I bought them from. You can't track who stole them, who has them, how many people have had their hands on them. Actually, one of mine is third party from a lot, so you probably can't even track it anymore. So, why? They don't have a serial number, so what? I can go back in my backyard and make my own 12 gauge shotgun, and that's completely legal.
When it comes to handguns, if there is one thing that the government hates more than affordable handguns, it is handguns that cannot be traced, accounted for, and placed.
Oh yeah, and anybody who wants to 3D print their own handgun, do not use cheap plastic. Use actual firearm grade polymer, because that thing will break in your hand. Best case scenario, it breaks in your hand, snaps off the handle, comes back and pops you in the head. Worst case scenario, I hope you have a good life insurance plan.
And a spreadsheet as a line item. The government is a bureaucracy grown to the proportions of a Leviathan. And just like Leviathan, it only ever wants more, especially more control and omniscience. Every gun that is legally sold by a dealer over the counter to citizens has extensive records kept concerning its dispensation.
That's the thing. As records kept from transfers between dealers and citizens, not citizen to citizen. And you can't go with that without having a universal. I really shouldn't be going into this in the video, but you can't have that without having a universal database to go back off of. In which case, you have people who don't know their guns are stolen, and they get charged. And also, if the government wants to arbitrarily, I don't know, force everybody to give up their guns, then they have a whole database of who has what gun where. If a foreign entity wants to invade the U.S., they can hack into the system, and our government has not been known to have the most impenetrable cybersecurity, and now they know where all the guns are, where to attack.
Whatever the ATF and the rest of the federal government might promise, bet your bottom dollar those records don't age out and get disposed of.
Nope.
Every last gun bought from a dealer is accounted for. No problem, you say. I'll just buy my guns from a gun show, man to man. You can, and that's legal.
Alright, I'm gonna have to go into this. If you go to a gun show and buy your gun from, Jim Bob, who has too many guns and wants to get rid of a few and make a few bucks, that's fine. If you go to a gun show and buy from a dealer, which is where you're going to get most of your guns and what most of those stalls are, those dealers are still required to give you a background check. This loophole is not as big as you think.
Legal. But what about the guns you are actually buying? Those guns are serialized goods, and that means out there, somewhere, is a paper trail that will inexorably lead to your general direction, more than likely. But you know what guns don't leave a paper trail? And what guns don't have...
Oh yeah, that actually does bring me up different point. If you're buying from anybody but a dealer, before you actually give the person the money for the guns, get the serial number and check with the police department, because they will be able to tell you if the gun was used in a crime. And if it was, you don't want to touch that, because at best, they find out it's a loss of money, because you have to hand it over. At worst, you can get charged.
Serial numbers? 3D printed guns. 3D printing technology is amazing, not only in terms of what it can do, but how fast it is growing. In just a few short years, it's gone from a novelty to a fully fledged industry in and of itself. 3D printed goods, made with the right resin or plastic, can be surprisingly durable. I don't pretend to be an expert on 3D printed guns or the current state of that sector in terms of legal challenges or best practices, but I know it is a hot button topic right now, and one that all shooters should be paying attention to.
What the
Using just a few dollars in resin and a 3D printer.
Hey, that's not a gun, that's a freaking flare launcher.
It's possible to print a clunky and rudimentary gun championing 22 LR or 9mm that is good for a few shots.
Good for one shot if it doesn't blow up in your fucking hand. Even the highest grade military, highest grade firearm polymer, if you don't have a fucking metal chamber, it will fucking blow up.
What's even more interesting is that
guess what you can 3D print? Metal!
You can print a receiver or frame, combine that with commercially available non-serialized parts, and have a DIY gun that will prove surprisingly capable while it does last. And all of this can be made to happen with no extensive experience in metallurgy, machining.
This right here, don't ever get this.
Or related gunsmithing skills. Truly, this puts the capability of making a gun...
No, you still need to machine it.
...in the hands of the people and distributes it in such a way that the government effectively cannot control it. Basic 3D printed guns, akin to the semi-disposable Liberator pistols that were smuggled and dropped into occupied France during World War II.
I might have to do something on that with the Liberators.
But they were good enough to put a target of opportunity into the forever box and get your hands on a better gun.
Not really.
You know what I mean. The marriage of 3D printing technology and firearms has the federal government sweating. And so every freedom-loving citizen should want to capitalize on this technology, both as a contingency and as a...
If you don't know what you're doing, don't try this. Because it will blow up in your hand and it will hurt you.
Bold declaration of our natural rights. Like a famous fictional information broker once said, you can't stop the signal. I
already know what's going to go happen. AR-15, most of them are called AM-15. I don't know what AM stands for. But AR does not stand for assault rifle. It is a Armalite rifle. Armalite is the company that originally made the AR-15, later to be known as the M16. Therefore, they're known as Armalite rifles. They cannot go full auto, they cannot go burst. They are not assault rifles.
Last category of guns on our list should be absolutely no surprise to anyone watching this. And if it is, I don't know if I envy you or pity you.
I envy you.
Priority number one for the federal government and many state governments is getting AR-15s.
That might have been an
M16. Intermediate or major caliber safely out of the hands of the citizenry.
Nope, that was full auto. We are not allowed to own those. That is modern too, so yeah, we definitely can't own those unless you're a CCL.
Tool, no gun, no nothing that is such a force multiplier in the hands of a motivated and determined adversary of the government. Statistics and pro-state partisan propagandists can pipe off all they want about the government having helicopter gunships, stealth bombers, tanks, special forces teams, and all of that at their beck and call. But the raw fact of the matter is that history has shown us over and over and over again that a populace armed with rifles and determined to resist simply cannot be conquered. There is a saying that the government will soon be grimly reminded of when it comes to military conquest. To the victor.
Why are they showing an AK and a freaking... Alright, how do I know that's an AK? One, the selector lever. That is AK. The big ass selector lever that will go full, semi to safe, semi full. That big ass selector lever is there. The one on the M16 AR-15s are like maybe an inch and a half, and they are operated by the thumb, and they are right above the pistol grip, like this one is, except it's smaller. Number 2, the lock and... I'm getting into gun nerd mode now. The rock and lock magazine. M16s, AR-15s, they have a magazine well, which you put slot A and slot B and slide it up, and you're loaded. That one you put the magazine, tilt the magazine, put the front corner in, and then rock it back, and it's locked in place.
Goes the insurgency. The federal government, Leviathan, has...
That's the magazine well. It goes about that far up. You have to slide the magazine in.
Already said on more than one occasion that it considers the biggest threat to itself,
magazine well,
at large, its own citizenry. That's all you need to know. Full stop. We are way past the phase of government.
This one.
Reminded.
No magazine well. If you see how it operates...
History has shown us over and over and over again that a populace armed with rifles...
See, magazine well? Magazine well? Magazine well?
There is a saying that the government will soon be grimly...
It rocked out. He unlocked it from the back, and it rocked forward.
...reminded of when it comes to military conquest...
Alright, that's enough gun nerding.
Full stop. We are way past the phase of government buying for the people. We are well into the twilight of empire phase, and the empire sees the citizenry as tax slaves, only with keeping around when they don't cause problems and cost money.
Yeah,
I don't care
pretty
what
much.
kind of semi-automatic rifle you have or want. No,
magazine well.
Want you to have it.
Also, if you see a magazine like that, don't get it. They're cheap as hell.
But know that it is the AR-15, which is the most effective and most ubiquitous rifle of our era, and accordingly, that's the one that is disproportionately subject to lawfare. It is the AR that keeps tyrannical people awake and afraid at night, as it should. If you don't currently have an AR-15, or preferably a crate of them tucked away somewhere safe, it's time to correct that deficiency before the government...
No. Shoot whatever guns you're comfortable with. If it's AR, AM, AK platform, the ACR platform, the SCAR platform. Shoot whatever you're comfortable with. All of them have their advantages and disadvantages.
The government drops a hammer on them. And that will do it for the top 5 types of guns that the government absolutely, positively does not...
So, thumbs up if you liked the video, thumbs down if you didn't. This is the first video I went pretty much 3 times as long as the fucking video is. But, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.